The unfortunate scenario that played out, news broke and many were also heartbroken when they heard it. But we're focusing on that again today. We're joined by retired Major General Garba Wahab, who has been a Director of Operations in Army Headquarters, also GOC 1 Division. He's also been Chief of Army Administration. He joins us this morning to give his perspective on the goings-on. Thank you for coming on this morning.
Thank you very much.
Well, the thing is, many don't just understand what the missing link is. Yes, they tell us that these are the vestiges of a fading group, and the timeline, or the deadline, still exists that the President has issued about when all of this, perhaps including this one, needs to end. But from your understanding, what are we missing? What is the missing link? Why does this keep happening?
Thank you very much. You see, we need to look at the pillars of terrorism. When you understand the pillars, the 4 pillars, you understand that there is the need for greater integration of efforts. We have 4 pillars. The first one is motivation. Things are happening in Syria and Iraq, and the guys there have pledged allegiance to ISIS, and they want to show that they are still relevant. There is the issue of objective.
Okay, I'm afraid we need to take a quick break and just put the thing or two in place, but we'll be back, so just hang on, don't go away. Could you go ahead and just give us the impression, the point you were making?
Yeah, I started by saying, you have to understand the 4 pillars of terrorism for us to understand what is actually missing and the need for greater integration of efforts. The first is the issue of motivation. What's happening in Syria and Iraq is a motivation to those guys, the Boko Haram guys in Nigeria. Secondly, the issue of objectives. Yes, people might proclaim that this is a religious issue. It is not. It is about politics and economy. ISIS had virtually captured major oil wells in Iraq, and the same thing is being played out here in Nigeria. The Boko Haram elements must capture some areas. They must be in charge to be given enough funding by their sponsors out there.
This politics that you talked about, because they pledged allegiance only recently to ISIS.
To ISIS.
So does it mean that they had that philosophy or policy before pledging allegiance to ISIS?
Yes. Don't forget there was Al-Qaeda before ISIS. So
were they also playing politics?
Yeah. It's all about politics and economics. You have to control an area for you to be recognized that, yes, you are on and you are in business. And the area, you must get some money, some funding from within before you can get something from outside. And it was a common knowledge, at least in the military, that people were contributing heavily to Boko Haram. People were being taxed. And they were paying. So if people are denying, we have gone beyond the period of denial.
How was this carried out?
Well, you control an area and you look at those who are staying there. If, for instance, somebody is working in a local government area, there is a particular amount of money he pays. Somebody works at the state level, he pays a higher funding. And then people who are smuggling and whatever. And then the issue of kidnapping comes in. They grab people, they collect ransom, and they raise some substantial amount of money. And that assists in moving on, buying vehicles. Where did they get the government vehicles they were using in the past? They were using enough money to buy those things.
And now I'm trying to look at the connection you just raised. Because if you look at the Syrian crisis, look at ISIS, and you talk about Syria, you look at what has happened in Iraq and a couple of other places, it would seem as if there's one dominant commodity, oil. And just in 2012, there's also this discovery about precious oil in around Borno area and some couple of other places leading towards Lake Chad. Is that what you also alluding, that they must have a place that they will have some dominance in terms of economic power?
Yes, that plays a very big role in what we are facing today. And that's why there's this belief that when something is happening in Nigeria, we should critically analyze and assess what is really happening before we go to the press or before we start saying something. Because the linkage is there, and you can't wish away the linkage.
So you've talked about motivation, you've talked about objectives, and you're talking about 4 pillars. What are the remaining 2?
There is the need for assets to harm. You must possess enough assets for you to harm the vulnerables, and for you to procure and train you need funding, you need technology, you need the wherewithal, you need the experience. And that is why they pledge allegiance initially to Al-Qaeda and now to ISIS, because there must be continuous training and continuous flow of technology. We are lucky in Nigeria that the ISIS issue had created a serious problem in Syria and Iraq. If there had been no serious problem, the Russians against the Americans and what have you, and the ISIS had been able to really settle, it would have been a different ballgame in Nigeria. Because a lot of people have been coming in to assist Boko Haram and prolong this issue.
And we will not know who these people are or how they are coming in.
That's why I said integration. There is that linkage of integration. For instance, a few days ago, or about 2 weeks ago, the immigration arrested 2 people. And they went over there, oh, we've arrested these 2 people. They were coming to do 1 or 2 things. And the leader was coming from Lebanon. What is the connection? Have we gone beyond saying we've arrested 2 people? What were they coming to do in Nigeria? Who are the link? These are things that we need to work on seriously, and we're not doing.
So we're not coordinated.
The coordination is not firm enough. The president had done what you could call shuttle diplomacy, going around getting the international community, getting our neighbors to support. But it goes beyond that. If, for instance, the military are able to capture some area back from Boko Haram, don't forget that at one point they were controlling about 22 local governments in Borno State alone, and the military have been able to push them back. What is actually happening to those areas that have been recovered? You must have presence of government. There must be governance. Local government level, the state. It's not only, everything must not come from the federal. The state must do more. The local governments have to do more. So because without that, you are creating an ungovernable space, which these guys
for the insurgents to come in. You know, looking at this again, because it's good that you have looked at it more deeply, even taking it beyond our shores, beyond our borders. Put that side by side, as Chimley reminded us when they came to give their allegiance to ISIS, and everyone thought, you know, recall initially everyone thought these were just a bunch of ragtag armies, unkempt people just trying to find a fit. But it has gone beyond all of that, knowing full well that the Nigerian army has been able to recover a whole lot from them in terms of ammunition and even vehicles to move around those areas they had taken over. They're an organized group now. It has been established. How can the people help in this? If you're saying that the locality is very important here, once the Nigerian army reclaims such places, what can the people do to help drive away the insurgents and bring about the development that they will need?
Actually, the whole operation is about is intelligence and information led. Without information, which should turn into intelligence, there is nothing we can do. The average member of the Boko Haram lives within the community. Very few comes from outside. Maybe the leadership or those at the operational level, strategic and operational level. But the tactical men are the locals within. And that is why the youth, the vigilante youth group is playing a very, very vital role. Well, it goes beyond the young boys. It is everybody's responsibility. In fact, when you look at counter-terrorism, you have to look at 7 main lines of actions or activities. We are hammering on the military. There is the legal, there is the information, there is the social. The average man there on the street needs to have security consciousness, security awareness of what is happening. Without that, we will still be running around because it's a vicious circle, and we have to break this circle.
But I know we have 7, sorry, Chamberlain, but who helps in giving that information to the man there on the street?
We all have a role to play. Minister of Information, National Orientation Agency, the NSS office, the DSS at one point were virtually the one responsible for all these jingles you see on newspapers, on the media. But what is the Minister of Information doing about this? What is the National Orientation Agency doing about this? It goes beyond just DSS or the military, because even if the DSS is doing something, you are still looking at the military angle to the whole thing. The civil part are to come in. We have gone beyond the period where people keep on denying. No, us believing it is a military issue. It is not.